Well, hello and welcome to the Llama Commerce Show. I'm Brett Curry.
And I'm Kurt Theobald.
Kurt, this is episode number 3. Can you believe that?
Pretty
I feel like we're in the groove, and this is just running along swimmingly.
I'm drinking coffee while on the show, which obviously means I'm super relaxed and ready for anything.
That means you're like a real host.
Yeah, watch this.
Like a real host. Oh, man.
I'm just drinking.
That was so natural. You didn't even practice that. I can confirm he did not practice that off air.
That's right.
So I really feel like the topic of this show today, but also our purpose as a whole, is really meeting a need in the e-commerce space. Hopefully other people agree with us as well. But our purpose, just to remind folks, or if this is your first time tuning in, we're setting out to demystify e-commerce into digestible, actionable items. So you can walk away from this show with at least a few things you can do differently, some improvements you can make, and hopefully so you can just get clarity as well, which is really important.
Absolutely.
So the topic today, I think we're gonna tackle this big, unwieldy topic today, and hopefully make it easy to grasp and also be freeing to people as they watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing we're trying to tackle is annual planning and honestly just business management. But this is the time of year when I know a lot of you are thinking about 2014, what changes you're going to make in your business, kind of reflecting on 2013. And identifying what changes you're going to make to make a better impact in your business. So there's a couple of things that I think happen a lot of times in talking to different merchants that they struggle with. There's two kinds of people that I run into. There's one that plans everything to the detail, wants to know all the details, how everything's going to work, get down to the nuts and bolts, and they're like this master plan that they build out.
It's like a chess game, and they're thinking 30 moves ahead.
Exactly. They're the kind of people that win chess games.
They win chess games.
Because chess games have consistent rules that apply all the time. Not actually how the
no
market
outside
works.
variables, really.
Exactly.
Unless you have kids running around or something.
That's true. That's true. Nobody wins those games.
My house. Yeah, exactly.
But the problem with that approach is because we are not playing a game that has consistent rules.
That's very true.
We're playing a game with the market, and the market's always changing. And frankly, we don't know what the rules are. It's audacious to think we know all the rules and how they all work together.
Yeah.
It's too complex. Chess is a relatively simple game. Playing the game
compared
of business,
to real life,
the game of business is a much more complex game. And so we really strongly recommend that people that are over planning actually guess less. They do less work on trying to build out all the little details and all the nooks and crannies of their plan, because in the end, you're not going to assume everything correctly. You're not going to guess everything perfectly.
You can't know everything, and then if you do make all these assumptions and you build this massive, unwieldy plan, the first time that goes off track, or you find that some of your assumptions were incorrect, now the whole thing is derailed.
Exactly.
It can be a major, major setback.
And the problem is when you get it so detailed, just the smallest thing, you're so chained out to where everything's dependent on the things that were preceded it, that if one of those things falls, all the things that come after no longer work. They don't compute. And so then you try to refactor it and rework it, but now you want to be just as detailed, and it's just a big mess.
Yeah. So that's the overplanner.
So that's the overplanner. But the people that all the overplanners ridicule are the other people. And those are the ones that just shoot from the hip and hang out and what's going to work right now? There's a new cool thing and let's do that. That sounds awesome. Which honestly is more like I am. Nobody has ever...
It can be fun.
Has ever said that I'm an over-planner. And so I've experienced the pain of under-planning or the pain of shooting from the hip.
I think that's what a lot of good entrepreneurs are, though. Entrepreneurs can shoot from the hip.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that I'm an amazing entrepreneur because I shoot from the hip and don't plan at all.
I think every entrepreneur, every business owner has to have a little bit of the gun shooter mentality, because they're usually willing to take risks, and they can handle challenges. They like to solve problems. So you have to have a little bit of that.
And to be fair, the overplanners have things that are really good too.
Absolutely.
But that's why today we're talking about how to balance between the two. Don't plan too far ahead. Don't plan everything into crazy detail. But please don't shoot from the hip either, because they both end disastrously 99% of the time.
Because I think what happens in either one of those scenarios, when you plan way too much or you don't plan enough, pretty soon you feel out of control. The project is not moving along, and you're not hitting your objectives, and that sucks. That position is no fun.
I think that happens for the overplanners especially, that they're just in a mess. But I think, and from my own experience, shooting from the hip, you actually have the illusion of progress when in fact you're getting nothing done.
Yeah.
We'll start initiatives, and there'll be all this excitement around it, and then squirrel, I get excited by something else,
Yeah.
and then we'll shift to a new initiative, and the initiative we just had that was 3/4 of the way done and half-baked, it now falls flat and it doesn't actually deliver any value.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the key challenge that we're addressing today is how do you plan effectively without over-planning, and how do you stay away from the negatives of either extreme? And the way that we're suggesting to do that is through what we call, it's not our term, it's a pretty broad term, the Agile methodology. We did not invent it like Al Gore invented the internet. That's not us, okay? Agile preceded us. But we have found tremendous benefits from adopting Agile in our own business, in working with our clients, which we actually just shifted to a full Agile shop as an agency middle of this year. And the results have been tremendous. We have a few waterfall projects that are just finishing up, and our Agile projects are outperforming handily our waterfall projects.
So to explain, the waterfall project is when you plan out all the details, start to finish,
right.
and you know exactly what you're going to do next.
It's rigid, it's defined from the very beginning, and then everything gets built out. Based on that scope. Whereas Agile allows you to define what are our objectives, what are the key things that we need to accomplish in this project.
Right.
But don't just think about it as a project management structure. It's also a business management mentality. So when you're going into plan for 2014, the idea is think about it in terms of what's my core value proposition. You got to get back to the core of your business. Again, the shoot from the hip guys just like to go out there and look at what tactics are exciting them right now and what's hot in the market. And like, let's chase that rabbit. But you got to go back to your core and your center and say, what's the core value I have to offer to the market? And then think about strategically this year, how am I going to improve the value I'm delivering and expand how many businesses or people I'm delivering that value to. That's your strategic focus. And once you're really clear in your core value proposition and how you're going to strategically approach the market. And when you think strategy, think one or two, maybe three things that you're going to change to really accomplish that mission. Then
I think it'd be appropriate to show the Llama right now, because as we're looking at agility, how do you become agile? I think the Llama is like the quintessential agile beast.
Look at his arms. Look how flexible. Watch.
Look at that.
Watch.
Oh man,
well,
it's like a contortionist. He's a contortionist llama.
Whoa.
But you know what's interesting about the Llama? So not only is the Llama agile, and not only does the Llama love being in the spotlight and rocking the microphone, but the Llama also knows who he is or who she is.
We don't know.
The Llama, yeah, exactly.
It's unisex. We don't really know.
Exactly, it could be either, so whatever you prefer. But the Llama does not. The Llama, while he's agile, may not want to go out and race a cheetah, right? So he plays to his strengths. The Llama knows who he is at the core, and he plays within those strengths. So being agile, but having those core strengths.
I'm really
beautiful, wasn't it?
And it's because we're the Llama Commerce Show, we feel like we need to relate everything to a llama.
A llama.
I think you get the trophy on that one.
You.
That was amazing.
We'll bring the
I
llama
thought
back.
you were very agile and flexible in making that work some way.
You. Yes.
Although I wasn't listening to you because I was so focused on making the
llama
thing
contort
dance.
in a different,
Yes,
which was beautiful.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I missed everything he said. I don't know if it was dumb, and maybe he doesn't deserve that, but I'm giving it to him because I thought I was pretty impressed.
Good.
So anyway,
yes, core strengths,
working
on your core
strategy, and then once you get that, like brainstorm for sure. How can we accomplish that strategy on a tactical level? And brainstorm, get some people around you, do some brainstorming, and build out a list. And there's two things that are important with that list. You need to go through and think about each one of those items. If you were to implement it effectively, how much value would it deliver to accomplish that, to implement that strategy? And secondly, how much time, cost, and energy is it going to take to implement it? Because when you get both of those defined, then you can kind of line out, and you can do like a 1-to-10 ratio, and you could say 10 is really high time, cost, and energy, and 1 is really low, and then 10 is really high value if we accomplish it or effectively implement this tactic. 1 is really low. And then those items that are 10s on the value delivery and 1s on the time, cost, energy side of things, those are the ones you want to do first, because it's not going to take much time. The level of effort is going to be low, or the level of cost, but the value delivery is going to be very high. So those are the ones you want to focus on first. So prioritize those. It's kind of like the biggest bang for the buck. It's just a more intentional way to define which ones are biggest bang for the buck. I hear that all the time from merchants. I want the biggest bang for my buck,
Yeah.
Well, be intentional about that. Build out
I think
that list.
Sometimes you could identify some things you feel is really critical. But then when you do that comparison, you realize that one thing is going to take way too much time or be way too expensive.
It's a 10 and a 10. It's like, okay, it would deliver a lot of value, but
we
it's
would
going to take all
only
the
get
time,
that
cost,
done
and
over the
energy.
next 6 months or something, and we would get nothing else done.
And maybe also add in a risk element. Some of those may be higher risk. You can always add in a factor there and think about how is it. What is the likelihood that I'm actually going to be able to implement this effectively?
Great.
So think about those concerns, and then you create a list of items that are kind of prioritized. And then the Agile approach is to think about things in terms of a week at a time, or 2 weeks at a time, or a month at a time. I don't hear very many Agile implementations where they go beyond a month. We like weeks because the idea is to do sprints. That's what they're called in Agile. So a sprint is where you look at your list of things you want to accomplish and you say, what are we going to target this week? And let's start at the top, the most important pieces, and let's get through those.
So you predefine things, but then you've got the flexibility that, hey, once you work on this particular piece or this particular layer, and you see that that's going to impact other things, now you can shift gears.
Exactly.
And you're not lost, and it doesn't feel like a setback. You're sprinting and you're moving along and you're gaining ground.
And whenever you build out, there's big pieces that we call epics in Agile. So whenever you get your strategic focus clarified, then build out these epic pieces. Pick 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 epic things that you want to focus on, and start with the most important one first, and then get detailed around that. Don't get detailed around the other epics yet. Get detailed around one epic to a level, and then when you get to the weeks, now you're going to get really detailed, where you're actually, what are we going to do this week? How are we going to make this happen? And have a planning meeting every single week to look at your list, look where you're at, react to what's coming up. Make changes to it. It's such an adaptable structure. It's not fixed like the waterfall approaches. It's not that everything's rigid and fixed. It's totally flexible and agile, and it just means you get to focus on the most important things now. Fires start. You know this in your business. Fires are starting, you get them every month, all the time. You've got fires you got to put out.
Yeah.
Well, Agile allows you to incorporate that into your planning structure without derailing you. And so that's a beautiful part of Agile.
Yeah.
So what we ultimately want you to experience in the end is we want you to have focus, clarity, certainty, and momentum. Again, when you're thinking of that week context, you can digest that. Your whole team can digest what you're doing in a week a lot better than they can digest the big 2014 goal. It's so difficult for them to connect to what you're doing in 2014. So focus down on what's happening this week. Everybody can get that. Okay, let's get behind this. We got a few things we want to get done this week. Let's do it. Creates tremendous energy and momentum, and you end up getting so much more done when you're focused on digestible, bite-sized pieces like we try to do.
When you get the
with
whole
show.
team focused on the same thing, it's an
Absolutely.
overused example. But if you take the example of light, light spread out can light up a room or do some useful things. But if you focus light, like with a magnet or magnifying glass, you can actually start a fire with it.
Exactly.
So getting that focus, the focus of the team, without that, you're not going to be able to accomplish truly great things. You got to have that focus. Love the idea of clarity. I think that's one thing we run into all the time, whether it's on the marketing side of things or redesigning and replatforming, is having clarity. Where do we want to go? Who do we want to be? What are we going to accomplish? And this will allow you to get that clarity.
Absolutely. So, the thing is, we can't talk through all the details of the Agile methodology on this show because it's too short and we don't really want to bore you. So if you want to take a look at it, I strongly recommend just Google Agile methodology. It is a broadly adopted methodology, and it is gaining huge traction. Why? Because it works so well.
Yeah.
So we're very excited about how it's implemented in our businesses. And I think if you look into it, really give it a chance and commit to that process, it can do beautiful things for your business as well.
And love to have a conversation start on Agile on our page.
Absolutely.
So on the Google Plus page, if you have questions, comments, if you've run some Agile projects, let us know about that. We'd love to have this community chime in, share your insights and your experiences, because it's pretty powerful.
If you run into obstacles, challenges you're having as you try to implement this, create the dialogue with us. We don't just have to do one show on Agile. We can talk. It's a very important piece of business, I believe, is how you manage your business. So let's keep an open dialogue about this. We'll revisit this. We'll bring in experts to talk about it. Maybe people that have had challenges with it, and actually have an open dialogue with different merchants that are having issues with it. And try to create a lively conversation around this topic.
It'd be great, too, as people have burning questions about Agile specifically, but about anything, like any e-commerce burning question you have, let us know what that is, because we want to either tackle that with the two of us or bring on guests who can tackle that issue. We want to just tackle all things e-commerce, make it digestible, actionable, and hopefully fun. And one thing I'd really like to point out, Kurt, because I feel like we're wrapping up the show right now.
But hold on.
Is that look at this trophy.
Yeah.
This trophy is right
We're
here
not done
in front
yet,
of me.
We're not done.
I think we are.
I have a really good point left.
Oh, okay. Dang it.
My point is that it's really important that you submit questions, because our list of topics to talk about is so short. It's like we really don't have anything to talk about. We're running out so fast.
That's not true.
I know.
Yes, no, I get
We
to
could keep
it.
talking. We could keep talking for forever.
Yes.
So that's not really a good point. All right, fine. You can keep it
Okay. Yes. First show that I get to keep the trophy.
on show 3. Not
On
going to
show
happen
3.
anytime soon, ever again. Okay.
We're
So
running
hey,
this.
you can keep in contact with us on our Google Plus page, our YouTube page. We're also expanding into other social media, so stand by on that front. But use those to communicate with us, ask us questions. We would also like to thank Classy Llama for sponsoring this.
Absolutely.
You can visit them at classyllama.com. And when I say them, I mean us, because
Us, exactly. We are
with them.
Classy Llama.
I just tried to make it sound more separated, so it's not like so. But no, I mean we plan to have colleagues in the space that compete with us. We just want to deliver value through this channel,
Absolutely.
this medium. So
Absolutely.
not at all about trying to drive a bunch of clients to Classy Llama or anything like that.
Nope. Just having fun being part of this.
We just see a lot of problems in the space, and we want to help out. So
Good. So I think in our traditional fashion, as we wrap up this show, we need to say to everyone to stay classy,
keep it classy.
or stay classy,
Or
or keep it classy.
why do we have to screw it up at the end of the show? Okay, let's start over. Start everything over.
Reset.